Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. Most likely going to be including Quant very largely in this video as well. This is going to be a much longer than usual video just because there is so much information to go over. But I highly suggest everybody stay until the end of this video, not for engagement purposes, but because there is so much damn info to go over, because what we have been doing is connecting the dots with Bank of England, with the real-time gross settlement system, with ISO 20022, and so much more. So with all of that in mind, let's dive in and let's start off with this update here from the Payment Infrastructure News Twitter. We do see the next big ISO 20022 migration weekend is coming up on June 19th. Chaps and the Bank of England's real-time gross settlement system will migrate to the ISO 20022 messaging standard. Now, to most people, this doesn't seem like anything, right? ISO 20022 doesn't mean anything to most people, and that's totally fine. Doesn't need to mean much for most people, but to me, it's a big deal. Why? Well, it's very simple, right? Here we have from Anderson going back to March of this year, and this is what I've been saying as well around payments. Like once you have, instant payments, it demands instant settlement. And here we have people keep saying ISO 20022 doesn't matter. It's not related to crypto, but from the documents I've read, it seems to be a fundamental piece of the puzzle. How can you have instant settlement if the messaging is slow and limited? Think. And yes, ISO 20022, in my opinion, is crucial for the future of payments. Now, is it crucial to crypto? Well, yes, in a way, because as we look at blockchain technology and DLT technology itself, most of it and a lot of the projects tied to this space are trying to streamline payments. We see companies like Ripple utilizing XRP to streamline and fix the fragmentation around payments. So yes, I do think that this is a big deal, and we do see financial messaging has largely been solved through structured ISO 20022 messages flowing at the speed of light. The missing piece of the puzzle is a global solution for what? That's right, settlement. So with this, what am I really kind of looking into? Well, I'm looking into the documents around this and if they pertain to any of the cryptocurrencies in the space. I don't necessarily think that cryptocurrencies or any projects are going to specifically be mentioned. But what we will see mentioned is names like Quant or Ripple. And the significance of that, well, we'll dive into it. First, I want to talk a little bit about this document. This is from the BIS. This is ISO 20022 harmonization requirements for enhancing cross-border payments. Now, I'm mainly going to focus on the executive summary. There's a lot of talk within this PDF file. There's so many, things within this that they talk about. What I do want to talk to you guys mainly about within this PDF file is this. So at present, the fragmentation and mixed use of payment messaging standards is a major friction in cross-border payments. Payment systems around the world are increasingly adopting ISO 20022 as a common messaging standard. This is an opportunity to promote greater interoperability in cross-border payments and support the G20 targets. However, while this trend may point to the potential for enhanced cross-border payments, variability in the ways in which ISO 20022 is deployed across the globe could undercut some of the benefits. To address this challenge, the CPMI and the Global Industry Payments Market Practice Group established a joint task force to develop harmonized usage requirements for ISO 20022 in cross-border payments. This is crucial to understand because what we will see is that harmonized approach through ISO 20022. Now, this is going to take some time, but interoperability has been the biggest problem with payments and payment technology itself. It's ultimately a huge obstacle for a lot of these industries and sectors to have that major upgrade to push them into the digital age. Payments, finance, it's the biggest area that really is ripe for disruption. There was an article talking about cross-border payments, which is a huge market, $156 trillion. They're projecting it to be worth $250 trillion by 2027. very large market, continuous growth, and it's only going to continue to get much larger from here on out. The biggest problem, though, is that you can't have that market upgrade it without interoperability and without those obstacles being broken. It's going to take some time. Regulatory issues need to be solved as well. But for the most part, we do see down here, ideally, harmonizing usage of ISO 20022 for cross-border payments would be achieved on a wide scale, regardless of specific user commonality or community, or use cases, i.e., it will not be tailored to one user community and use case only. And they're talking about SWIFT, right? So we do see the proposed 2025 introduction of the requirements would align with SWIFT's decision to remove the ability to send cross-border MT payment messages over its network. So this would be that harmonized approach through SWIFT for ISO 20022, ultimately bringing in that that wide-scale adoption of these messaging, these messaging standards. Now, the thing is, with SWIFT, which everyone wants to bring up, is Ripple replacing SWIFT. We just talked about this. It's very complementary. I think that SWIFT will most likely be utilizing crypto technology, DLT technology, to streamline their payments. And when I say streamline their payments, I mean payment settlement. Now, also, we do see from Ripple going all the way back to July, or sorry, I thought it was July. It was June of 2020. ISO 20022 shaping the future of cross-border payments. This is a crucial piece of the puzzle, but it's not the entire puzzle. We still need, that's right, instant settlement. With this, going all the way back to 2016, October 18th, I included this in a video recently, Bank of England scaling real-time gross settlement. This was a POC. This was a little bit of a trial run, if you will, with Ripple technology and, just utilizing DLT for payments. This was a big deal, and it still is a big deal today, because if we actually look at this POC, so here we have FinTech Accelerator Proof of Concept, Ripple exploring the synchronized settlement of payments using the Interledger Protocol. Now, back then, it was mainly the Interledger Protocol for interoperability and that harmonized approach to connect all of these systems to one. Yes, Quant is kind of newer to the scene. Do we think that Quant's going to be the chosen one for interoperability? It's kind of looking like that. But again, I still think Interledger Protocol plays a role too. And for the most part, these were the reflections of this POC. There's a lot of information on this one as well if you wanted to go read it yourself. But for the most part, we do see this POC was a useful exercise to develop the bank's understanding of synchronization and possible technical solutions. Our key learning points were that the Interledger Protocol was able to support synchronization of payments between two simulated RTGS ledgers, that the Interledger Protocol validator created a single source of truth between the two ledgers, eliminating the need for separate processes such as mutual reconciliation between separate ledgers. Cross-border payments, when applied to wholesale markets, present different challenges than when compared with retail and corporate transactions, which the Ripple product is designed to handle. The availability of liquidity is one such challenge, and the POC allowed the bank and Ripple to begin exploring these questions. And again, this was a big deal, and I think that this is something that is going to continuously be looked upon when we talk about upgrading the RTGS system within the UK. And remember that this is at the heart of the UK's payment rails. And also, here you guys have from February 13th of this year, roadmap for the real-time gross settlement service beyond 2024. And within this, they're talking about a new core RTGS settlement engine, and they want to introduce this in 2024. RTGS is at the heart of the UK payments industry, and through its provision of settlement in central bank money, the ultimate sterling settlement asset is fundamental to both monetary and financial stability. RTGS now settles over 750 billion pounds on average every working day, and in autumn of 2022 saw record peak days reaching over 1 trillion pounds. So very large, and they want to make this a lot more efficient. They want to explore synchronization. Synchronization is a priority. Resilient channels to connect RTGS, extended RTGS operating hours, and synchronization. These priority features, if delivered in the future, would help not only to enhance domestic payments, but would also support achieving the Financial Stability Board's, FSB, big key there, which I'll talk to you guys about here in a second, roadmap for enhancing cross-border payments through making them cheaper, faster, and safer globally. I wonder what that sounds familiar with. Does anybody know? Comment down below, because to me, it very well sounds extremely similar to what Ripple has been doing with cross-border payments. And also, a lot of this is centered out on API platforms. Now, why did I mention the Financial Stability Board? Very simple. Here you guys have, going all the way back just recently to December 15th, 2022. This is from Ripple. This is their response to the Financial Stability Board. We do see Ripple Labs Inc. Ripple welcomes the opportunity to comment on the international regulation of crypto asset activities, a proposed framework, questions for consultation, and the related consultative document on regulation, supervision, and oversight of crypto asset activities and markets. Basically, this is Ripple responding back to the FSB and giving them a little bit of their insight on this this overall push for regulations and how we can have this proposed framework around crypto regulations. This is also why I've talked about and discussed the possibility of the case around Ripple with the SEC kind of being a little bit of a distraction, if you will. And it's also talking a little bit about this global stablecoin arrangement. But we do see Ripple would like to thank the FSB for the in-depth and comprehensive analysis that has been undertaken in drafting the consultation papers, as well as the opportunity to provide our comments. And this did talk a little bit more in depth about XRP. They do mention XRP for on-demand liquidity, as well as a bridge currency, stuff like that. A lot of information in there, but also this is from March of 2023. This is Trust Bridges and Money Flows. They actually quote the FSB on the first introduction here. And they're talking about cross-border payments are expensive, slow, and opaque, reflecting multiple frictions. Now, what's funny about this is that within this is from the International Monetary Fund. If we look at Ripple, so there's only a few names actually mentioned on this document in terms of crypto assets. Do you see the only crypto asset mentioned here? Yeah, that's right. It's XRP, crypto asset by Ripple. It's kind of interesting that they do say that it's by Ripple. It's actually not. And then also the only other one was USDC. Now, Ripple is mentioned twice. Here is the second time. Also, Stellar Foundation is also mentioned, but not XLM. This is actually under a document saying extensions and further considerations. This is talking about CBDCs and things like that. Mainly what they are talking about is this cross-border market for digital money and the infrastructure on how this could become an actual thing and what efficiencies are tied to it. And we do see three models arise. And this is the models talking about this private, public, or possibly even a hybrid approach. And we do see a private settlement asset and marketplace such as Ripple's XRP, an open source marketplace such as Stellar Foundations, or more recently, DeFi networks, which we already know that a lot of these DeFi networks such as Strike, with like the Lightning Network, that's a big problem. And honestly, I wouldn't even look at that as a solution. I've talked about that many times. But more recently, DeFi networks and a marketplace and settlement asset based on unbacked crypto assets such as Strike, which leverages Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. And then they do talk a little bit about, however, a public solution potentially run by a regulated private entity has key advantages, and they do talk about that as well. Now, I did include this document in a recent video going back, I want to say maybe like 2 weeks ago now. And the reason why I included this again is because every single one of these documents, they always talk about cross-border payments, and they talk about the modern forms of money and these modern payment systems that are rising, and how they could be very beneficial. Now listen, we know how rough cross-border payments are. They're very broken, fragmented. There's a lot of problems tied to them. But what's wild about all of this is you need to pay attention to the only names on these documents. First off, the only actual crypto asset mentioned on here is XRP. It's labeled as a crypto asset. USDC, yeah, it's a stablecoin. It's mentioned on here. But besides that, there's only actual like 2 cryptocurrencies mentioned on here besides, if you will, Stellar Foundation, but they don't even mention XLM. They don't mention XLM at all. It's just XRP and Bitcoin. And of course, if you wanted to include stablecoins, USDC. Now, we already know that's not Bitcoin. We know that stablecoins are great for payments, but again, the big question is, how can we achieve instant settlement? Well, you have to utilize something like XRP. Ripple has already solved this with XRP. Cross-border payments has already been solved through Ripple with XRP. Now, also, today, well, technically yesterday, we've seen this huge announcement. The BIS and the Bank of England complete CBDC project. Now, this is Project Rosalind, and it was designed to explore how a universal and extensible API layer could connect central bank and private sector infrastructures and enable retail CBDC payments. Now, why is this interesting? Well, first off, Quant has been working with them for a while, the BIS, which you see from Gilbert Verdian. I'm incredibly proud to be able to announce that Quant Network has been collaborating with the BIS, Bank for International Settlements, and the Bank of England on Project Rosalind, a project designing and implementing a CBDC API and platform and testing use cases for CBDC and financial services participants. We were chosen to provide the technology because of our history of innovation, expertise in financial services, and deep experience in payments, previously running mission-critical infrastructure. Only we can do what the project needed from a technology partner and payments expert. Now, for most people, they think that this is cutting Ripple out of the picture altogether. Remember that within the UK, the Digital Pound Foundation, which is a think tank organization, includes a few players: Quant, Ripple, Electroneum, and Avalanche. Two major players there, Quant and Ripple. Well, guess what? Very complementary to each other. And if you look at it, they are crucial for the evolution of payment technology, CBDCs, and things like that. Within this, we do see the project has produced tangible, real-world examples that test how CBDCs would support a more digitized economy in the future, working with participants like Bank of Canada, Barclays, MasterCard, and Amazon, who built and tested new CBDC payment flows on the platform. CBDCs are coming. I encourage every bank and financial institution to read the Project Rosalind report and start planning their smart money infrastructure strategy now. Absolute bombshell of announcement. Whether I don't care who you are, this is a huge deal, right? We know CBDCs are coming. We know that they are inevitable. We can't stop them. The best thing to do is get extremely wealthy off of the elites pushing this system, because you cannot stop this. So what we do is we get wealthy off of it and we try to change the world in a better way. It's as simple as that. But the best thing about this is that when we look at the Project Rosalind breakdown, it's catering to what Quant is doing. APIs, the API gateway, the API layer that's offering the functionality that is needed and crucial for this evolution of payments and payment technology. And you know what's wild about all of this? Every single document that I've read includes API discussions on how we can get this API layer for CBDC payments, the CBDC ecosystem, tokenization, digitization. Everything will be moving through this specific layer. This is why I think that Quant is going to be so damn valuable in the future. But within this, there's a few things. So here is the introduction, the global landscape. Central banks are accelerating their explorations of retail CBDC. Many of them are trying to understand how CBDC could support a more digitized economy and improve the availability and utility of retail central bank money in a digital age, while sustaining confidence and trust in the monetary and financial system. Now, they do talk about this ledger design. They talk about the few subjects and topics that they wanted to focus on, which is resilience, cybersecurity, offline payments, privacy protection, and ledger design. And there's a few things that they do also mention around this. Specifically, cross-border payments is also a big deal. Now, over here, we do see Project Rosalind, project purpose and objectives. The purpose of Project Rosalind was to explore how APIs could be used to support the functionality, adoption, and innovation of CBDC systems by developing prototypes for an API layer in a two-tier retail CBDC model. And we do see a few sections here: functionality, interoperability, adoption, and ecosystem. Functionality to explore how APIs might best enable a central bank ledger to interact with private sector service providers, including the different options for facilitating safe and secure retail CBDC transactions. Interoperability to explore how interoperability between different systems and applications could be achieved, including seeking insights into the different design choices, risk, opportunities, and trade-offs involved in delivering interoperability. Adoption to explore the API functionalities required to enable the development of a diverse and innovative set of CBDC use cases. And ecosystem to gain insights into how public and private sector participants could work together to innovate, support digital inclusion, provide diverse payment options, and deliver good consumer outcomes. Also, here you guys have the entire infrastructure. So you will have the central bank ledger. Guess who designed a private ledger technology for central bankers to utilize, aka the central bank ledger? Oh yeah, that's right, Ripple. And it's based upon private XRP ledger technology. XRP, there's only one XRP. And it could cater to that private ledger technology. It could cater to the public ledger technology. This is a big deal. And also, the API layer, which would be Quant. And then you see the service providers and the individuals and businesses. Now, how will this work? Very simple, right? You have these central bank ledgers, or just one ledger, a unified central bank ledger, which they have been talking about as well, which directly connects to the API layer. The funny thing about that API layer, well, guess what? That connects to all service providers and all individuals and businesses. What have I said about Quant? It is the gateway for mass adoption of crypto technology. How? It's very simple. You go look at the platform. Here you guys have all of the major networks out there. XRP being one of them. You also have XDC. You have Ethereum, Bitcoin, all of these other ones. The crucial ones, Hyperledger Basu and Hyperledger Fabric, they have direct connections to Hedera, Casper, you name it. Now, how do we look at this and how do we say, how is all this going to work? Very simple. The API layer is the infrastructure. Quant would be the infrastructure. They would be providing interoperability to the central bank ledger to all of these service providers, meaning your credit and debit cards, your phone, the internet, the cloud, your computer, email, you name it, everything. Interconnect it into the digital world. Also, the traditional world will all be connected to this as well. And then guess what? This directly connects to grocery stores, businesses, corporations, everything. This is mass interoperability through one API layer, the core infrastructure of this system. This is a big deal. And they also do mention a little bit as well around like the phase one, which you could kind of see here around the sandbox with the API layer. You see the ecosystem participants, you can see the adoption ecosystem, the API user groups, the advisor groups, functionality, interoperability, use case API, and also the development team. And there's a lot tied to this as well. You can look through all of this if you want, but mainly that's what I really kind of want to show you guys, which is, the main idea on how all of this will work. The digital age is upon us, whether or not people want to realize this or not, it's totally fine. And you do see down here, project participants, collaborators, and acknowledgement. You also see the tech sprint participants. These are all of the major players tied to this. You have Amazon, Revolut, Worldline. There's so many big names here as well, as you guys do see, like Idemia or Idemia, however you guys want to pronounce it. They have a direct connection to Hedera, actually, which is pretty interesting. And then also over here, you also have some pretty large names like R3, eCurrency, OneID, Visa, Google, MasterCard's even on here. But then also under the vendor team, you have Quant and UST. So now, if we look at this, big things are happening, especially in the UK. And I even said it, like, pay attention to what the UK is doing. It's a very, very large initiative. They want to become a crypto hub, and it's for good measure. This is the future. Whether or not people want to realize it or not, this is the future. In my opinion, yes, I do think that the key to that $156 trillion cross-border payment market is going to be through initiatives like this that provide an insight and a direct connection to what Ripple is doing with XRP and even like the RTGS systems, right? Like having an upgrade to the RTGS systems, it's a fundamental change. And it's a fundamental change that you will see immediately once it does go live. I'm very excited for this. And you know what? All of these initiatives that have been happening since going back, I want to say like 3, 4, 5, you could even go back all the way to 2016 and previously to that. All of it is becoming a reality now. Again, I always say these things do take time, but they are definitely worth the wait. And with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. So it's up to you all. Have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.